Young voices. Abdullah, welcome to the show. How are you?
Good morning, Scott. Thank you for having me. I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm well, thanks. Appreciate it. So is this the end of the war, or is this a loud ceasefire? And we're going to pick this up in a few weeks, a few months, maybe a few years.
Well, so far it seems that the war in Gaza is indefinitely over. We've seen Trump's confidence apparent when he was addressing the press aboard Air Force One en route to Israel. And a reporter, I believe it was Caitlin Collins from CNN, asked the president, you say the war is done. Netanyahu says it hasn't. And he just tells her, do you understand me? It's done. It's just done. The war is done. So it seems that the president is pretty adamant that he wants to end the war in Gaza. And so far, with the 3 past ceasefire attempts over the past 2 years, this particular ceasefire seems to be successful because Hamas has actually participated and budged and went through with at least the first successful phase 1 of it. Thankfully, the 20 living hostages are freed now. That's the first step. Mm-hmm. The Israeli hostilities, the offensive operations, bombing, military participation in the Strip have ended, and the humanitarian corridor has proceeded. So I think what matters now is within the next few hours, when Trump departs Israel and goes to Egypt and meets with 20 other world leaders, as you just mentioned, and we'll see what the next steps will be. But so far, so good.
Well, the good news is you have pretty much the rest of the Middle East on board with this. The outlier, though, would be Iran, as the largest state-sponsored terrorist operation in Iran. Whether or not Hamas continues, albeit maybe in a different form, but continues, that's going to be up to them, isn't it?
Well, I doubt that Hamas will play any role in Gaza any day after this. The popularity amongst the Gazan people themselves has extremely diminished. They are extremely unpopular. They are unwanted. Iran has shown its cards to the region that whoever seeks to shade under it really gets forsaken. Hamas has been literally left to fend for itself. Hezbollah has been destroyed by Israel without any real aid from Iran. The Assad regime, as we've seen in December, just crumbled in a matter of 11 days. And the Houthis have literally been smacked by everyone in the region, and Iran hasn't done anything. The only time Iran fights back is when it's hit itself. So I don't think that Iranian influence over Hamas is going to be as it was prior to October 7th.
Sure.
And I think the Palestinian people will right now understand that really peace is just the best way to move forward and end all of this.
Yeah, I just wonder if there'll be enough splinter members left of Hamas. Maybe they reform down the line as something else, but at least temporary, at least for the near future, things look good, Abdullah Hayek, relative to peace in that country that we've seen on and off again now, well, longer than we've both been here for sure. How much of this, as far as the trust element, because that's really the big thing here, right, is that people are just, maybe what ended this whole thing is fatigue.
Well, fatigue is certain. This war is the longest that Israel has ever been in. Israel, usually goes to war for weeks or months, not for years.
Right.
I think trust is a two-way street. If the war truly wants to end, both sides need to trust each other. If we see a pattern developed within this conflict, we can see that every major peace deal breakthrough usually succeeds a major war. We've seen the Camp David Accords succeed the Yom Kippur War. We've seen the Oslo Accords succeed the First Intifada. So right now, I think with this war being so destructive and, groundbreaking and changing the landscape, I think there's an opportunity right now with fatigue, with the determination to solve the conflict, with everything you could possibly imagine, to actually come through with a peace deal that will not just end this chapter of the conflict, but the whole conflict. And I think it would be best if it stayed within the two-state solution in some way or the other.
Well, it seems like it's headed that way. We'll get to that in a second. But as far as initially earning the trust, I guess, of each other, be Israelis as well as Palestinians, is I would think like humanitarian aid would be a big component of this, is that if we're delivering food, and we're not just the U.S., but Israel, right? And you have actual Israelis that are in boots on the ground there delivering food and water and medical supplies, helping them rebuild Gaza. Doesn't that go a long way to a lasting peace?
Well, it's definitely a gesture of goodwill. It's much needed, actually, especially with the high chance of famine that were in the Strip. I think that the initiative on behalf of the Americans and the Israelis to commence food delivery is good, but I think that it would even be a better gesture of goodwill if both of them participate within the reconstruction and the rehabilitation of Gaza project as a whole with the broader international community. That will definitely go a long way. And it will certainly show to the people in Gaza that once you get rid of Hamas and once you get rid of the Iranian influence, the aftermath is usually more rewarding and more prosperous for you. So I think that would go better in developing the trust that you were talking about, in which it would show that the Israelis don't just come with the hammer, they come with the olive branch as well.
Yeah, if you see your enemy, if you can see and touch and who was formerly your enemy and they're helping you rebuild now, that's how you regain trust. That's how you build, I think, a lasting peace. But that is the very, very hands-on, early, touchy, tactile component to this whole thing. The other element, as you mentioned, Abdullah Hayek, Middle East analyst and consultant, is the rebuilding and governance. So you mentioned a two-state solution, and that has always been a perilous ask, and that is, okay, can we have Palestine and Israel coexist in the same land? That has always been fraught with a lot of problems because of how much land and where and expansion and the like, and that's driven this whole conflict for a long time. If you have a transitional governance that leads into governing, you almost by definition then have to have a state to govern, correct? So this is a de facto two-state solution to start. We have established Palestine as a legitimate territory. And I think countries like France were not long ago booed by us, but now it sounds like this is what we're doing, isn't it?
Well, Scott, it's good that you mentioned this, but within that realm you just spoken, the whole thing is all over the place. Now, both Hamas and the Trump 20-point peace plan, both they explicitly mentioned that they will not accept the Palestinian Authority to go into the Gaza Strip and resume governance after Hamas surrenders. Now, I think that is the major point that raises one's eyebrows, because Hamas only stated that it will surrender the Strip to a body of international and independent Palestinian technocrats. Has anyone ever heard of that term really successful in the Middle East? I don't think so. No. Which brings us back to my original point, which I believe with the same motivation and initiative we've seen in ending the war in Gaza, I think the U.S. and the international community as a whole has to lead an initiative to revitalize and decorrupt the Palestinian Authority, which was designed to be the governing body of the Palestinians in the wake of Oslo in 1993. They've already have a track record of governance, and for a good period of time, they were successful. Those are the guys that will really do the job to help the Palestinians.
But can we trust them, though? I mean, there's a history of corruption allegations and failed peace talks and everything else. We're back to that?
You're absolutely correct, but that's what I'm saying. We need to lead an initiative to rehabilitate them, to revitalize them, do something to motivate elections happening there and the Palestinians electing leaders. I know 2006 happened and Hamas won, but the constituents that were present in 2006 are 90% not going to vote in this election, which is 20 years later. The young generation of Palestinians have seen that the wrath of Israeli military might is not something that should be dealt with, as we've seen in the example with Gaza. The Palestinians would want to end the conflict peacefully. If we can just go to polling data, if it would to emerge right now, it would most certainly show that the Palestinian people do not want the confrontation with Israel anymore. We're seeing social media footage on the ground in Gaza that just attack Hamas more so than they attack Israel. So the tide is changing in the region. As for the two-state solution, what the borders will be, what the shape of the map would look like, that's all, I think, very, very tough to tackle. I mean, numerous presidential administrations haven't been able to tackle it, but it's good that they keep it within that framework, because honestly, other than that, what is the solution?
What is the solution? How do you do this?
I don't think, there's any other possible solution, because the Israelis are not going anywhere. The Palestinians are not going anywhere. Is it going to be fulfilled within, the one-state solution or a three-state solution where the West Bank goes back to Jordan or the Gaza Strip goes back to Egypt? I don't think that's going to be feasible or possible. So a two-state solution in which both sides can guarantee each other's security and peace is the best solution. And how that's going to be done, I think you need courage. I think you need the courage to overcome the obstacles. And, in a nutshell, I think, the Arab claim, as foreshown in the 2002 Arab Peace Initiative, which states that there would be full recognition on behalf of the Arab world with Israel in return of Israeli withdrawal from the Palestinian occupied territories. I think that's a good start, but, the Arabs have to amend that, the borders of June 4th, 1967 aren't really feasible anymore. Because previously there were major chunks of Palestinian cities surrounded by tiny dots of Israeli settlements in the West Bank. And now it's just the other way around, where you have these major Jewish Israeli settlements in the West Bank that are really just surrounded by Palestinian dots. The demographics in the West Bank have changed dramatically. So I think that they need to get over the June 4th, 1967 borders. They have to come to an agreement over Jerusalem. And I think something can be made, but the time is right now. The iron is hot. It's best time to strike is now. So we'll see.
And we also have to maintain focus, and that's something, Abdullah, that we're really bad at in the West, specifically America, is we'll do this, we'll celebrate, then we'll move on to the next thing and completely forget all the work it took to establish peace in the Middle East with all these countries. We let it fall apart. And we've seen a long track record in that, whether it's Vietnam, whether it's Afghanistan, whether it's the fall of the Berlin Wall and the Cold War and the Russians, the former Soviet Union, and we just ignore that and go, hey, if we don't maintain democracy and try to keep feeding it and caring for it and nurturing and nursing it along, it'll fall apart because it's fragile. We do that all the time.
Unfortunately so, and the track record isn't just, with those states that you mentioned. It has been with the Palestinians over and over again with the whole conflict. So I think, Donald Trump has shown true interest in, having his second term, his administration, be remembered as that of a peacemaker. We've seen his record be successful so far in ending conflicts between Armenia and Azerbaijan, the Indians and Pakistanis, the Rwandans and Congolese, and 3 other conflicts in addition to the one in Gaza and Israel.
And well, again, we'll see how long it lasts. If he can get through his second term without it falling apart again, would be, well, that alone by itself would probably be a small miracle. And I know there's a lot of pieces behind the scene as he's in Egypt now talking to world leaders. A lot of things had to happen behind the scenes for this to occur, namely leveraging Qatar and Turkey and Egypt to get this deal brokered together. That took a lot of work behind the scenes, obviously.
Oh, yeah. And I think there needs to go credit for the Turks. Over the past 2 years, the major countries involved in the negotiations were, of course, the Israelis and the Americans, with the Qataris and the Egyptians. When the Turks got involved in the negotiations, only in a matter of 3 days did we come to a solution to the conflict. So I think, the credit is due to the Turks, especially that President Erdogan has, according to President Trump, personally intervened in the negotiation process for itself. The timing is just right. I think everything is just falling in time. 2 years have ended. The hostages have just seen enough. And I think the civilian population of Gaza has just been under horrible conditions that no one could possibly imagine. The timing is right. The conflict's ending. Everyone's happy. I think, why shouldn't the population, both in Israel and the Palestinians, just move forward to peace? Why can't we see a rebirth of the 1990s again?
Yeah, possibly, and you hope so, because there's just so much blood and life lost and devastation, and it cut deeply on both sides. And that blood is so fresh that I think a peace will last for a little while. Unfortunately, what happens, another generation comes along and forgets about history, but we'll let them address it later date. Let's celebrate the fact that finally the war has stopped over 2 long, hard years. All the death and destruction led to this. He, again on the show, is Abdullah Hayek, Middle East policy expert on the Scott Sloan Show on 700 WLW. He's a peace fellow at Young Voices. Thanks again for the time. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Scott. It's great to be here, and I look forward to our next discussion.
Trump is in Egypt to take his victory lap, meeting with leaders of some 20 countries. Here, closer to home, the big story, of course, is the Bengals. The Bengals. The Bengals lost, but they did it in a better way. We learned how to lose better. Let's put it that way. Joe Flacco looked pretty good at second half. The defense fell apart. The big question, of course, is why can't we have the offense and defense on the same page for all 4 quarters? Certainly in the last number of games in this early season, still fairly early in the season. Fact of the matter is that you play complementary football. It's got to last 4 quarters. Offense looked bad in the first half, good in the second half, and the opposite for the defense. Wilted in the end. But got Steelers. It's a short week. Thursday night football coming to Cincinnati. Scott Sloan Show. We've got news on the way in just about 4 or 5 minutes. Hang on for more. 700 WLW. Sloan on 700 WLW, and the Cincinnati Bengals fell to the Packers. I don't have to tell you that yesterday afternoon. Should the loss feel like a win in a way? James Rapine is here from SI Bengals Talk and Locked On Bengals. James, did we win in the loss?
No,
we did not.
The answer is no.
I don't get that attitude. Like, it
no
feels
winning and losing.
We lost, but it feels like a better loss. It's like, no, you lost. It's just a loss is a loss. Even though you lost by a worse, you didn't look. It wasn't as embarrassing as previous loss. You still lost.
For sure, and that's the correct takeaway. I also think, to the people that are optimistic from yesterday, the reason why you're optimistic is because there were signs of hope and signs of a difference.
Yeah.
Now, will that translate into Thursday? That's the real key, because a loss is a loss is a loss. But if it helps you on Thursday, well, then that could translate to a win.
Well, we'll get to that. Let's slow down just a second. Yeah. Here's the problem with the Bengals. This has been true whether Jake Brown is a quarterback or not, is putting a complete game together. We've heard about the complementary nature of football. Offense, defense, special teams. Offense, bad first half, good second half. Defense, decent first and half, bad second half. We can't put this together. That's, one of the many problems. It's been an ongoing trend here, specifically with the offense being bad in the first half. Now, we had an excuse, not so much under Joe Burrow, but under Jake Browning. One half of football for one Joe Flacco is not really a trend. It's a sample. Bengals put up 65 yards total offense, but was only down 10-0 at halftime. And that seemed like, okay, I don't know how we're going to generate more offense in the second half, but they did, and then the defense collapsed. So I guess maybe that's because the offense is so inept in the first half, by the time the defense gets to that fourth quarter, they're completely gassed.
Maybe. Maybe that's the case, and I certainly would love to see this offense start and play normal football in the first half. They've been outscored 79-9 in the first half of the past 4 games. They haven't scored a touchdown in that span. Magically, the 9 is three-pointers, 3 field goals. So it's it's frustrating to watch. And yesterday, I do think that there's some reason behind it. Joe Flacco had just gotten there. You're going up against a good defense. You are on the road. And yet at the same time, it doesn't change exactly what we had seen the past 3 weeks was happening again. And no, they didn't turn the ball over, but they literally couldn't move the ball. At the end of the first quarter, they went 3 and out on their only drive, had 1 yard of total offense. It went 3 and out on 3 of their first 4 drives of the half. Like, it just can't. That isn't a way to win games. You can't do that. You can't start off that slow, because you're right. Now we're wondering, all right, well, is it the defense's fault, or is the defense just gassed, or, well, I think the defense was awful in the second half, and I don't think it's all them just being gassed, but you have to start better if you're going to win games, especially on the road against really good teams.
Yeah, and you're playing at Lambeau Field. You're playing in a pretty good Packers team. That's no slacker there. Now, Pittsburgh, the sweetheart of the division right now, comes to the town on Thursday. Arguably, that's a much tougher game. You're playing at night. You're playing at home at Paycor. Hopefully, home field helps you. But right now, the Bengals, if this is any indication of how, a loss is a loss, Cincy is 5.5-point underdogs going into this game on Thursday night.
Yeah, and this is where it shifts, because I said this is not hindsight. This isn't me looking at it from orange and black colored glasses. Losing to the Packers, in my mind, was expected. Mm-hmm. Like, I wanted to see them play better, but tough team on the road. Joe Flacco's been there for 4.5 days, basically. A tough ask. But you make that move for Joe Flacco so you can, one, be more competitive, but two, win games like Thursday night against a Pittsburgh team that obviously knows Joe well. You know the Steelers well. And if you win, you can get right back in this, because the AFC North stinks. Really, the AFC, for the most part, hasn't been as good as people thought. And so that door is cracked, but it's slammed shut with a loss, or you can inch it open with a win. Yeah. And that's the reality for the Bengals right now.
It feels certainly, you look, by the way, you described a must-win on Thursday night to beat the Steelers in the division, especially at this chance having him at home. Now, it is a short week, of course. That's always bad. Maybe it's not, because now Joe Flacco, he's in a bit of a rhythm right now, and he looked to get in a rhythm in the second half. I mean, he threw some really tight balls, particularly to Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase blew up. That touchdown that he had, I still don't know how he got that. I still don't know how that wasn't a flag, by the way. But you felt like, wow, finally somebody who, given a little bit of time, and credit to the offensive line there, can find the deep ball, can hit Jamar Chase, can hit T. Higgins, and maybe we got something here.
Yeah, that's it. That's exactly it. Is I came away from that game, my biggest takeaway was, all right, they have a guy at quarterback. They have a guy at quarterback that can make the throws. He can get it to their weapons. And this team, Scott, is built around their offense. Like, if they're going to be good, their offense needs to be good. Their offense should be better than the defense. Like, that's how they're going to win games. And so that second half, I mean, they might have scored 3 straight touchdowns if Andre Josevich doesn't drop that ball on 3rd and 8 and let it go through his hand. They were moving it. And so, yeah, I think that there's reason to be hopeful.
Yep.
And I think that they're going to be encouraged by that. But again, now the pressure really is on. This is a kitchen sink. You throw the kitchen sink, you throw every play, everything to get a win on Thursday night.
Yeah. You mentioned Yoshi really struggled yesterday. It was not a good game for him.
He did. He did. And those are the type of plays, like, especially on the road, new quarterback,
make a catch.
You're trying to rally back. Like, you have to have those kind of plays to have a chance. And yeah, if he didn't leave those plays on the field, who knows what ends up happening.
You wonder too, end of the half, what if it would look that much different? Okay, so you're going to go to the locker room, it's 10-0. You go to the locker room 10-3 and a touchdown. You got a little momentum there. McPherson hitting the crossbar from 67, which would have been an NFL record. That was incredible. Hits the crossbar, goes in, and we called timeout right before a fortuitous icing of the kicker, because obviously the second one wasn't long enough and it was wide right. He just got a little too much under it. But man, I think you don't want to say, hey, what coulda, shoulda, coulda. I mean, if Joe Burrow didn't go down, we probably wouldn't have this conversation. Is the fact that, man, it felt to me like, boy, you go in the locker room and getting 3 back, and we're only down 7, and then the way they looked in the second half, there could have been a different outcome.
It could have. It was a heck of a timeout by Matt LaFleur. It really was. Because I don't know do you think you need to ice the kicker at 67 yards? Is it better just to let him kick it? Clearly, it was better to take the timeout. But,
and you're not taking your timeouts in the half anyway. I mean, what do you lose by calling timeout?
No doubt. And that's it. That's why you do it.
Do it.
Geesh, like I wish Evans didn't get to kick that first one.
Right.
Because I think he kicked the first one, made it, and then, I don't know, it almost changes your mindset And I'm not saying he said that or felt that way,
right.
but like it just felt different with that second.
Could have been.
Like,
the angle of the hold could have been a little off.
Shot, go
right,
do it again.
Right. If the angle of the hold's a half degree off, it's going to change it from that far. So it may not have been the hold, could have been the stay, could have been a million things, but yeah. Now, had he missed it and then hit the second one, we'd be high-fiving each other right now, and maybe the Bengals would have done something. But that was the most Bengal thing of the game, I think, is that he makes it from 67. They called a timeout, and then he misses the 67-yarder. But nonetheless, I thought first-half defense played good enough to win. Trey Hendrickson leaving with a back injury. Things change after Trey Hendrickson wasn't rushing the passer anymore.
Yep. That might have been all these game-deciding plays. 3rd and 8, and you have Jordan Love with over 4 seconds to throw the ball, and then he finds Matt Golden when the Bengals had trimmed the lead to 24-18. And if they get a stop there, they're getting the ball.
Yep.
Like, my goodness, how nice would it be to have Trey Hendrickson on the field? I really hope it isn't serious, because you talk about paths to winning games. They just don't have a lot of playmakers on defense right now, Scott.
They don't.
And so without Trey, you're looking around like, who's going to make a play? And there's not many guys that you can confidently say would raise their hand and be able to actually go out there and make a play.
Question. Does anyone miss more tackles than Jordan Battle? I mean, it was fair most games. Cam Taylor-Britt has just been bad for a long time now, and he's bench leading up to the game, and it just, you look at it and go, there's just too far many guys that want to make a play. I mean, tackling, that's not the easiest thing, but it's the most basic thing. You watch a Bengals game, how many guys get extra yards after initial contact? You could probably count on one hander in the course of a game where the person making initial contact brings down the target.
Yeah, it's frustrating, and I thought it was interesting that the Bengals went with 2 rookie linebackers as well for the majority of that game.
Yeah.
And Barrett Carter and Demetrius Knight. And I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but I don't think either one played well. I think Josh Jacobs had his best game of the year, averaging over 5 yards a carry. Obviously had the 2 touchdowns on the 1 touchdown run. I mean, he was pretty untouched after getting through the defensive front, and that can't happen. So, yeah, you mentioned it, Cam Taylor-Britt, Jordan Battle, and then you throw in those guys and not much of a pass rush.
Yeah.
And it's just it's a really tough go of it right now. And so who knows? I think Shamar Stewart has a chance to play this week, and maybe Trey Hendrickson can fight through it. And if you have those 2 guys, maybe you will have somewhat of a pass rush against Aaron Rodgers.
James Rapine, back to the corners and starting 2 rookies at linebacker and Demetrius Knight. Okay, we saw Demetrius, but Barrett Carter in for Logan. What happened to Logan Wilson over the last couple of years? I mean, I think he was just on kickoffs, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was in on base downs when they were playing 3 linebackers.
Oof.
And then special teams. He had 1 snap in the second half. And honestly, I don't think he's been, like, he has lost a step. There's no doubt.
Yeah.
But I don't think he's been so bad that now he's just phased out. And I think that's a really interesting storyline that's transpired over, I mean, it's week 6. It's not week 16.
Right.
And, has Barrett Carter showed them that much? Now, if you look at the box score, played well. He had 10 tackles. But I think when they watch the film, they're going to look at those linebackers and say, all right, we were pretty bad in that spot. But it is saying something that Logan Wilson has kind of throughout the past couple of weeks been phased out, and now he's truly their 3rd linebacker. It's a tough spot to be in for the veteran, especially after he was voted captain. And that's the reality. That's what he's facing. I would expect Barrett Carter and Demetrius Knight to start again on Thursday.
Yeah, I would think so too. But man, I watch. You watch a little bit because you get the multi-view going on TV. There, you can watch different games. I'm watching Aaron Rodgers yesterday, and he especially with no Trey Hendrickson. Boy, you're asking that line and that defense to do a lot that they don't look like they're capable of as of today.
There's no doubt. And that's why starting off with points and finding a way to get going early on offense, that is important. Because the Steelers, they're not a team that wants to win a shootout either. They're the opposite of that.
Yeah.
They want to play, the ugly game that they played yesterday, and then they'll break it open at the end. That's pretty much their game script every week. And so this offense has to show up early. They're going up against a really good defensive front. The Steelers' defensive front's awesome. Jalen Ramsey's been playing pretty well, I think, in Pittsburgh at corner. And so, look, it's going to be a tough test, and it really, can you get a lead? And then if you get a lead, the Steelers aren't good at running the football. Force Aaron Rodgers to throw it, and when he does, you're going to have to get pressure on him. Like, it's all simple things. It's much easier said than done. But those are some of the things that they're going to have to do.
Well, we'll find out Thursday. It's a quick week, and unfortunately, we don't have time to get healthy too, because you got some guys banged up. Trey Hendrickson comes to mind as the biggest there as well. And man, you feel like this is the season right here. Am I wrong about thinking it that way on Thursday night already?
No, you're not wrong. This is it. I mean, 2-5 versus 3-4, and if you get to 3-4, then you have a tiebreaker over the Steelers, and you play them again a month later.
Right.
And so you have to sweep Pittsburgh. If you sweep Pittsburgh, and you look and you got the Jets on the schedule, you got some winnable games on the schedule, and you're home, you don't go on the road again. It's been a lot of road games. I mean, 4 out of 6 on the road.
Right.
You don't go on the road again until November 16th when you play Pittsburgh, and there's a bye in there. But you're at home. This is when, like Zach Taylor for the past few weeks, is like, the wins are going to come. The wins are going to come. Well, the wins need to come right now.
They do.
And now's the time. And they can salvage the season if they win on Thursday night. But it certainly starts with a win on prime time against the Steelers.
Big ask. We'll find out. We'll have the call for you. James Rapine's covering it for you as he does every Monday morning. So chopping it up before the lunch hour. We're always talking some Bengals football this morning. On the losing end, that's 4 straight losses. Bengals open at 5.5-point dogs against the Steelers on Thursday Night Football. James Rapine, catch him over at SI's BengalsTalk.com, and of course the Locked On podcast as well. James, all the best, buddy. Appreciate you.
Thanks, Scott. Appreciate you.
All right. Quick timeout. Speaking of sports and the like, of course, the news this morning that the Bearcat, the legend, the Hall of Famer, Jim Kelly Jr., has passed away. The longtime color analyst for Bearcat football alongside our buddy Dan Horde, passing away today after his health battle. So prayers to everyone at UC and Clifton, especially the Kelly family, and Danny for that matter too. Knew that guy for a long time. Willie's on the way, coming up at 12:06 here on the home of the best Bengals coverage, 700 WOW Cincinnati.